everything right, it was you and me.
Hello everyone, my name is Naima and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. And today we are doing Steph Bohr's book recommendation tag. I believe I saw her film and upload this video. I thought it was a fun idea and so I wanted to try it out today. If you are new here and you haven't seen this background before, I am home for spring break. I thought I would have so much free time to and read, but no, I'm serving as full-time dog mom right now when my mom is away, and it is hard work. It's currently late, that's why the lighting isn't the best. Also, my shelves may look different if you've been here for a while. My mom decided it would be a great idea to get rid of all the carpet and just put down hardwood, and now my bookshelves are flipped. This shelf, the romance shelf, is usually the second one over here, and the other one has all my other stuff like fantasy and such. It just is a mess right now. The shelves itself are disheveled and I hate the way they look, so tomorrow I'm gonna be redoing all of that, fixing up my bookshelves. So yeah, and also there's just a lump of clothes. It's a lot. I'm tired. I am very excited to sit down and talk to you guys today, recommend you guys some books, and yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. The first question is a book that you tell people is your favorite, and honestly, I was thinking back, usually I won't say a romance book, not because I'm ashamed, but because I feel it's so niche to find people in your day-to-day life that actually actively read romance and get into the nitty-gritty taboo stuff. If they read romance, it's probably the Hating Game or something like that. So in order for people to know what I'm talking about, maybe I usually say Daisy Jones and the Six. I love this book so much. The TV show just came out. There's 3 episodes out so far. I have mixed feelings about it so far, but I'm obsessed with the actors. But I do tell people it's Daisy Jones and the Six. Sorry that you can't even see, it's so washed out, but it's Daisy Jones and the Six. I love this book. I've read it 3 times. I still have my ticket from the summer when I was in Canada, and I reread it. I love this book. It is so beautiful, and I to this day have never experienced a book that made me feel the way that this book has made me feel. I remember I put in my AirPods one night. It was 2021. It was January 2021, I believe, and I just spent all night listening to this book, and it felt like a movie. It was cinematic. It was amazing. I just would highly recommend it. I would probably recommend it to anyone, those who don't read romance, those who do. It's just such a great story, and I don't know, it really spoke with me, and so I usually say this book when people want to know. The next question is a book that is your guilty pleasure, and I actually don't have any guilty pleasure books, I don't think. I will say that sometimes, yeah, I really don't have any guilty pleasures when it comes to reading. I will say sometimes when people ask me what's a book that got you into reading, After isn't a book that got me into reading, but it's one of the first few books that I read in the romance world, and so sometimes I'm kind of After, and sometimes when I talk about it, I'm I still really enjoy After. People have ripped it apart now and say that it's super toxic, which I love in romance books, so whatever, but people say it's toxic, people pick it apart, but I still love those books. So I guess that could be a guilty pleasure, because sometimes when I have to tell people, I'm cringe. Definitely After is a guilty pleasure. I don't know why, because I read books just like it still to this day, but it's just the word. It's just the word After. I can't sometimes. Okay, the next question is a book that everyone loved, but you didn't, and for this one, I think I'm gonna say The Spanish Love Deception by 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲. I was so excited to read this book. I love a fake dating situation. I love a cutesy little rom-com. This one gave nothing. It served absolutely nothing, and I was so disappointed. I have no idea why this book has so much hype, and I'm not yakking your yum. You can obviously whatever you want to like. I personally didn't get it, and yeah, I just really didn't like that one. The next question is a book you read the fastest, and I have a handful of books that I've read super fast, in one sitting, back to back to back, if it's a series, or I spent all night listening to it. And some ones that have come to the top of my head, Daisy Jones and the Six. I obviously just told you guys the whole story of me zoning out one night and completely watching it in my subconscious play out as I was listening to the audiobook. Another one that I read super fast, and this one's kind of impressing honestly because it is a massive book, is 𝓫 Venom by Penelope Douglas. I remember I read that super fast. My friends were like, wait a minute, did you even read the book? I was like, yes, I just was so into it. I love a bully romance. So that one was really fast. I read a bunch of books super fast, but I can't pinpoint which one was the fastest. but whenever I'm in a reading mood and I like am loving the book, guarantee you it's probably going to be finished by the end of the day before the sun comes up if I'm reading it at night. So yeah, those are two that have stuck in my head. And then Ecstasy by KB Rose is another one. I remember I read that all night. It was one of my first vlogs on YouTube in 2020, and I just binge read that. I read it all night and it was amazing. I loved it. The next question is a book that you think deserves more hype, and for this one I'm going to say Why Are You Here by Brianna Jean. Freya from Freya-Lise, she recommended this book to me, and it is an amazing toxic romance. I loved it so much, and I really don't see many people at all talking about it. I loved it when I read it. It was very much like a toxic dynamic. We have like a super star hero, which I don't typically love, which I was surprised that I really enjoyed it in this book, and then a heroine who really is a fan and really loves his music. His music got her through some very tough times. She's gone through like anxiety, depression. She's just had a bad run with like drugs and alcohol, and so his music really helped her. And when they meet, they're like twin flames. It's toxic. They fight. They literally talked all night the first night that they met, and then fought that same night. And then it's kind of like they've talked, they're in love, they feel so connected to each other, they feel like they've known each other their entire lives, and then the next day they're fighting. Their relationships just had a lot of turmoil, and it was great. It was so much fun. I love like a twin flame situation, and it did remind me a lot of like Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox. Less cringy, but like they are just who I pictured when I read this book, and I don't know, I would highly recommend it. A little toxic romance, and it definitely deserves more hype. The next question is a book that is becoming a movie/TV show, and for this I have a few answers. Daisy Jones, obviously the show just came out. There's 3 episodes out so far, and then every week there's going to be a new one. I'm enjoying it, but honestly it's too early to say if I'm really loving that show. A Court of Thorns and Roses is also being adapted. I have no idea if it's going to become a movie or a TV show, but I just love this series with my entire chest, and I'm so excited to see what is done. I still have reading vlogs up for each of these books if you want to go see. I read them for the first time a couple of years ago, and I fell in love. I also really enjoyed Normal People and the show for Normal People. I really loved this story when I first read it. I sobbed my eyes out when I read it, and the show is just really beautifully done. And those are just a few on my mind right now. The next question is a book you have reread the most, and for this one I have to say Vicious by LJ Shen. I lost track of the amount of times I've read this book. I've read it with friends that don't really read romance. Oh, you should really read this book, and I'll read it with them, and like we'll go off and on like reading chapters to each other. Like it's just, I love this book so much. I also just reread it all the time for like just myself. This is the only book that I can say that I've reread more than 5 times. These two are the only 2 books that I've reread in general. I'm trying to become more of a rereader. Whenever I reread something, it's typically Vicious that I will pull up. I just love it so incredibly much. It is such a good story. The next question is a book from a genre you don't typically read, and for this one I have to say My Year of Rest and Relaxation by 𝓫𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. I read this book in January 2021, so it's been over 2 years now, which is crazy, and I loved this book when I read it. This is about a unnamed narrator in the year 2000. She is incredibly depressed but very wealthy, and she just spends her days downing a bunch of sleep medicine, and when she wakes up she goes downstairs to her bodega. She lives in New York, chugs a bunch of coffee, and then does it over and over and over again. So you see her relationship with her best friend that's actually very toxic, and they cannot stand each other at all. You see her relationship with her ex-boyfriend, with her therapist. It is just such an amazing story, and I have no idea why. Like I just ate this up when I first read it, and I would highly recommend it. I believe the genre is just literary fiction. It does fall under that like millennial fiction genre that was a thing a few years ago that I was obsessed with like books like Luster. I guess they call it like the sad girl books now. I actually just got the audiobook for it, so I'm planning to do a reread of this very soon, and I would highly recommend it. The next question is a book that deserves all the hype it gets, and for this I have to say the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series, but specifically Kiss the Sky by Krista and Becca Ritchie. When I first read this I fell in love with Rose and Connor, and before in the other books they kind of annoyed me a lot, but this is so far my favorite book in the entire series. I only have 3 more books to complete the series. I have the last Rose and Connor book, the last Reich and Daisy book, and then the like Some Kind of Perfects, which sums up all of their stories. And I love this series so much with my entire chest, but especially this book. It deserves all the hype it gets. so good. I just love a companion novel series. I love like different friend groups and romance books. This whole entire series definitely deserves the hype. The next question is a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. And I don't know, if I'm recommending a book to a romance reader and I know that they like, you know, a bit of darker taste, I usually recommend Ecstasy by K.V. Rose, Haunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton, and typically a Colleen Hoover for people who are just getting into the romance genre. I haven't read a Colleen Hoover since the summer, and I'm not really interested in reading any more of Colleen Hoover. I've recommended Colleen Hoover books to people who are looking to get into the genre more. The next question is a book that has your favorite character, and right now, you guys already know the answer to this. Say it with me. Declan from Carnal Urges. I am obsessed with this book and I'm obsessed with Declan, and he just lives on my mind so much. I say this in every video that I mention him, but I am manifesting somebody exactly like him. I love him so much, and this book is just so amazing. It is a captor-captive romance. Our hero thinks that the heroine has started a mafia war, and in order to get answers, he decides to kidnap her, and from there they fall in love. It's not really like a damsel in distress situation at all, because Salome is so tough and so like strong-willed. Within minutes, she had all of Declan and all of Declan's men wrapped around her little finger. It was so good. Declan's love language is definitely words of affirmation, and so good. I love Declan. The next question is a book you wish you could live in, and honestly I don't know, because part of me wanted to say the Off-Campus series just because I'm in college, they're college romances. I feel like that's a little bit more believable, but I also want to live in a world where I would stand a chance. But I mean, I would stand a chance with these guys anyways, because hello. I'm gonna say the Kingmaker series by Sophie Lark. I'm holding up the air right now, which is the first book in the series. I don't know what possessed me to hold this up, because now that I'm thinking about it, I would be such a scaredy cat at this school. It's a college where basically all of the mafia children go away to this school called Kingmakers, and they're basically training to take over their family's mafia. And I'm just thinking like, there was no way that I would make it out of this school alive with like the rule of recompense, all that stuff. I don't know, it's very scary, but I also feel like it could be such a fun time. Like, I love a good college romance, but this one was especially fun because all this crazy stuff is happening and all these mysteries are happening and the romances are so cute. I feel like it would be fun to go visit. Like, I wouldn't want to like go to school here, but I could like tour the school, see if I'm interested in the college, you know? Like, that would be so much fun, but I don't think I could actually live here. The next question is a book that you thought you would hate but ended up loving it. Bitter Heat by Mia Knight. First of all, it took me so long. It took me over a year to pick up the book to read in the first place, but then when I started to read it, I was like, I'm not liking this. I think I'm gonna DNF it. I ended up loving this book so incredibly much. I believe I gave it 5 stars. It was just everything that I love in a romance. It was toxic. It was depraved. There was like blackmailing. Everything about it was just so much fun. So I have no idea why I thought I wouldn't like it, or why it took me so long to read it, or why I even thought of DNFing it. But I'm so glad I didn't. I ended up loving it, and now I would highly recommend it to anybody who loves like a toxic romance, an angsty romance. This one is so good. The next question is a book that made you cry, and there are so many books that have made me cry. Like, off the top of my head, Wolf Song by TJ Klune. I have talked about this book so much, but this book definitely made me sob, but also it made me do a bunch of other things like laugh, smile, and just feel so much love in my heart. I love this book. It is a werewolf romance, an MM romance. It has a very big age gap. These two have grown up as best friends. It's such an amazing, such a beautiful story. I can't even put into words why this book is so beautiful. TJ Klune just has, with his words, beautiful stories that make you sob, and I still have yet to read the other books in the series because I'm scared that they will destroy me as much as Wolf Song destroyed me. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think I am gonna start the next book pretty soon, maybe tonight, because I just miss this world, and no book has made me cry as much as I cried during Wolf Song. And the last and final question is a book you wish you could read for the very first time. All of that, like, I don't know. This is such a hard tag. We're gonna go with one of my favorite books ever, which happens to be It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This one is honestly just super random in the first book that I thought of, because I loved this book when I first read it. I have since read certain scenes, the hospital scene, if you know, you know, but I just wish that I could reread this book for the first time and experience everything all over again. It was funny and witty and so charming and so hot. Like everything about it was just so good. And if I could just like this summer, before the summer happens, wipe my memory of it and reread it, I would pay good money, probably. And that was the last question for book recommendation tag that Steph Boyer created. I will have her original video and her tag below. Check her out if you haven't already. I mean, everybody knows who Steph is, but just in case you haven't, I'll send you guys her way. I loved this tag. It was super fun to film, and I think I'm gonna tag some bookish friends in the caption to try out the tag. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you have made it to the end of this video, leave me a tag emoji, comments down below. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very shortly with a new video. Bye.
If I got one thing right, it was you